Hello and welcome to Wise Women's Conversation. My name's Angela Council, your host for this podcast. And this podcast is a space for us to be having the conversations that women need as we discover life after 50. Together, we're going to explore topics like health, well-being, mindset, purpose, and the wisdom that helps us live the best lives as we age. So come along and join me for today's conversations. Girls just want to have fun. Hey, I'm not that great at singing. And guess what? I don't think I'm that great at fun either. And particularly over the years when I've been really busy running businesses, raising children, people would say, well, what do you do for fun? And I go, well, I'm not sure I do fun, but that's what I want to talk about today. Fun, having fun in our life. And what does that mean? I want to go to the dictionary to start with. What does fun mean according to the dictionary? It refers to anything that provides enjoyment, amusement, or pleasure. It's a positive, light-hearted state of being that involves play, laughter, or lack of serious intent. And it's the word play that kind of goes, for me, I don't think I play. And then I started doing a little bit more research and I came across some work by someone called Catherine Price. And she says fun is the integration of three psychological states, and that being playfulness, connection, and flow. So once again, this word play comes up. And that's where I feel like I'm not that great at fun because I don't think I'm very playful. And even when I was, when my kids were younger, I didn't think I was like the fun mum. I'd see women who are, bouncing around and playing games with their kids. And that really wasn't me. I tend to be a little bit, naturally, I tend to go more towards being a bit more serious, a bit more grounded. And, having that type of playful fun has never really been part of who I am. But maybe I need to start looking at fun a different way. Because one of the things I've learned, particularly in recent years, is that we're all different. We're all created different. And biologically, we're different, and we have different dominant hormones. And this is influenced by our genes and epigenetics. And for some people, their dominant hormone is oxytocin. And so that's all about fun and connection. Others, prolactin is the dominant hormone. And so that's about loving and nurturing. And then we've got those who are really driven by dopamine or adrenaline, and they really find fun in excitement and thrills. And for me, serotonin is my dominant hormone, and that's about pleasure. Now, I'm not saying that we don't all have these hormones. We do have these hormones, but it's the balance of which hormones are within the way our biology works. And everyone is different based on, as I said, our genetics and epigenetics. So when we come to, the word fun, then if we look at this, just even looking at the hormonal side of things, we all experience fun in different ways. People who have got high levels of oxytocin, they're going to be more playful. They want connection. They need to have people around them. And so they're probably what we would kind of see as the typical fun type of person, because they're always playful. They can be serious, but play is their dominant way of being. And having fun experiences, their dominant way of being. And, and you might be that person, you're always creating great fun experiences, or you might be like me and you know someone that does that, but you don't do that well yourself. For me, my dominant hormone being serotonin, my fun comes more in pleasure, what things I enjoy. But those things can look, and some of them are actually hard work. I love hiking, and I probably wouldn't put that into the definition of fun because hiking is hard work. But I get so much pleasure just being out in nature, or climbing up a big summit and getting to the top and seeing the views. Recently, was it last year, I hiked the Pyrenees Mountains. They're really big mountains, particularly if you come from Australia. We have nothing like the mountains they have over in Europe. And the Pyrenees are pretty big. And, hiking up those mountains, climbing we would sleep at around 1,700 meters and we climb to about 2,200 meters, and then we come back down again. But, climbing that every day over rocks, over trees, it wouldn't be what most people would describe as fun. I didn't describe it as fun. It was definitely a challenge. But the views, which I appreciated more when I got home than when I was over there, because I gave myself, I had a little bit of a thing that I keep challenging myself that I could walk 100 steps and then I could take a break. And I take a break and I take some photos. And then I walk another 100 steps and I take a break, because that was kind of the limit of what could do. There's less air, less oxygen at that level, and my body was, even though it wasn't altitude sickness, my body was struggling with that lesser amount of air. So it's kind of, I'd just do small bits at a time. So at the time, whilst I'd stop after my 100 steps and it definitely wasn't fun, I can tell you that. But afterwards, looking back at the photos and remembering what the views look like, there was pleasure in that. There was so much pleasure just seeing the beauty and appreciating the magnificence of the Pyrenees. And, we crossed from France to Spain, to France to Spain, and also appreciating what people who, because this was a way that the French people got into Spain during the war, and appreciating what they went through. So, fun isn't always about playing, but I also do realize that I do need a little bit more of light fun in my life. So I am doing a few things. This year is my year of getting more fun in my life. So one of the things I'm doing at the moment is I'm doing some dance classes. Now they're they're just fun. They're just designed to be fun. They're not serious or anything. And I used to do ballet when I was younger. I did ballet up until the age of 17 or so. So I did, my younger years were all about ballet, and very much that was hard work. Not a lot of fun there either. Get the drift here that I don't think I've had a lot of fun in my life. But this time, doing these dance classes, we basically just have one song, and each week we continue to do the one song, and we just keep to learn more steps over 5 weeks until we've finished the complete song. And for me, the joy of doing this is, number one, doing it with other older women. That's really great. But more importantly, what it does is it just allows me to move my body freely, because I'm actually, particularly in the upper body, I'm quite stiff. And I think a lot of this comes from, hiking, where I have a backpack on all the time and, always carrying that weight. And, probably metaphorically, I've also been carrying a lot of weight over the years with, running businesses and helping other women and raising children. And so when I go to these dance classes for this hour, I can kind of just let all of that go. And I really love the feeling of being able to move my body more fluidly. And I've seen video of what I look like, and really I look like a baby elephant, but that doesn't matter. That's what I think I look like. Others probably don't, but I look at myself and go, oh my God. But it's not about that. It's not about what I look like. It's about how I feel. So this is something that I'm going to continue to do is, do these dance classes, and it's not an easy thing for me to get to these dance classes because I drive an hour to get there. I then dance for an hour and then I drive home. So, it does take effort for me to do this, but for me, this is fun. This is about moving my body. The other thing that I do for fun is I've got two dogs, and you might have just heard one just started to bark. And in the afternoons, I just spend time just throwing the balls to them. So I've got two dogs and they both chase balls. So I basically have to throw these balls at, different times, and they run and they get them and then they bring the balls back. And I don't think about anything else except for where I'm throwing the ball. And I'm not that great at throwing a ball, but that's just, for me, once again, it's moving my body, and it is more about moving my upper body because I need to throw, and just seeing, the dogs just bounce around, and when they run, and one dog, when he runs, he chases the ball and he jumps up in the air and he catches it. So, that's play for them, not necessarily play for me because I kind of stand still. But, it's like doing something different. And for me, it's really about that pleasure, getting pleasure, feeling my body. And I think for so long I have been in my head. I still spend so much time in my head, but getting into my body and feeling into my body. So for me, if I was to redefine my version of fun, it is about pleasure. It is about being in my body and allowing my body to move freely. And for you, I invite you to think, what is fun for you? Is it the playfulness, or are you someone who likes that adventure, that risk, and does things that are, quite, maybe some would consider risky, adventurous? Maybe that's your version of fun. I don't think fun has to always be about playfulness. We're all different. For some, yes, it's very much about playfulness. It's very much about connection. For others, it's about, getting, they're having that sense of purpose or having that risk. For others, it's about pleasure. For others, it's about, being safe within yourself. We're all different. And when we judge ourselves based on other people's versions of fun, we can quite often think that we're lacking. So really, what my bit of wisdom for you today is to just look at what you think fun is, and maybe you are already doing things that maybe give you pleasure or excite you or give you connection, whatever that is. And it might not necessarily be the play that others expect fun to be. And if you're not, what's something you could do? What's one thing you could do that could bring you pleasure, that could bring you some joy, that will just lighten your heart a little bit and not feel so heavy? Because, these days there is so much going on in the world and it can feel really heavy. If you're watching social media and you're looking at the conflicts that are going around in the world, or you're running a business and people are expecting a lot of you, or you're in corporate and you're leading teams, whatever it is, it can start to feel heavy. What's something you can do that can bring some lightness? And it doesn't have to be really big. It could be simply, if you've got pets, if you've got dogs, running out and throwing the ball to the dogs. Or if you don't, go down to the local dog park. I'm sure you'll find plenty of dogs there that want to chase a ball. I think there's even cafes now, cat cafes. If you love cats, I'm not a cat person, but you can go to cat cafes and sit with them. Or maybe it's simply sitting down with a friend and having a nice, light-hearted conversation. So what does fun look like to you? Have a think about that. And do you think you've got enough fun in your life? Let me know. Feel free, email me, angela@angelacouncil.com, or wherever you're watching this, if you're watching it on YouTube or listening to it over on podcast, if you can, leave a comment. What does fun look like for you? Do you think you've got enough fun in your life? What could you do to bring more fun into your life, to bring more light? And that helps you cope with some of the heavier things that are going on. I'd really love to hear from you. That's it from me this week. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.